Madam Chairman, we are live now.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of Cabinet. I'd first of all like to welcome members of the Cabinet, also officers and members of the public viewing on YouTube to this virtual meeting of the Cabinet. I am Dina Romero and I am the leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council. I will now call out the names of the other participants for this meeting to introduce themselves. So I have with me Councillors Richard Samuel. If you could just say hello, so I also know that you're
yes, on mute. Sorry. Yes, my name is Richard. My name is Richard Samuel, Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Resources.
Thank you, Richard. Councillor Paul Crosley.
Hi, my name is Paul Crossley. I'm the Cabinet Member for Community, which you'll be considering. Main paper today is the Entry Hill and Approach courses.
Paul. Councillor Sarah Warren.
Hello, I'm the Cabinet Member for Climate Emergency.
Councillor Tim Ball.
Hello, I'm Councillor Tim Ball, Cabinet Member for Housing, Planning and Economic Development.
Councillor David Wood.
Councillor David Wood, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood Services.
Councillor Joanna Wright.
Hello, I'm Joint Cabinet Member for Transport Services.
Councillor Rob Appleyard.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rob Appleyard and I'm the Cabinet Member for Adult Services, Safeguarding and Public Health.
Thank you, Rob. Councillor Kevin Guy.
Good afternoon. I'm Councillor Kevin Guy. I'm the Cabinet Member for Children's and Young People Services.
Thank you, Kevin. And Councillor Neil Butters.
Good afternoon. I'm Joint Cabinet Member for Transport Services with Joe Wright.
Thank you, Neil. Also present are Will Godfrey, who is the Chief Executive, and also Michael Hewitt, who is our Legal Manager, and also Jack Latkovich, who is Senior Democratic Services Officer. So this meeting is being held under the Local Authorities and Police and Crime Panel, in brackets, Coronavirus Flexibility of Local Authority and Police and Crime Panel meetings, close brackets, start new brackets, England and Wales, close brackets, Regulations 2020. The Council has agreed a protocol to cover virtual meetings, and this meeting will operate in line with that protocol. The meeting has the same status and validity as a meeting held in the Guildhall. Can I remind members and officers and the public to keep background noise to a minimum and to only speak one person at a time and not to speak over others. Please mute your microphones when not speaking and then unmute when I invite you to speak. Please indicate if you wish to speak by raising your hand, either virtually or actually, and I will call you to speak in turn. If a member of the Cabinet has to leave the meeting, then please draw my attention to this by using the chat facility. If you subsequently return to the meeting, then please also draw my attention to this in the same way. Members should also inform me if they lose connection or miss any part of the meeting, as this may result in them not being able to vote, if a vote is required, on any item that they did not hear in full. Councillor Richard Samuel will take over the chairing of the meeting if I have to leave or if I lose my connection. If Cabinet is retired to take a vote, I will read out each member's name in alphabetical order, and each member shall then clearly state if they are for or against the motion. This will enable the Senior Democratic Services Officer to accurately record the vote and will also ensure that decision taking is clear to the public who are viewing this on YouTube. On some occasions, Cabinet members' video feed may go blank. This will be look to you like a black screen. Some cabinet members use their iPads to participate at this meeting, and they may look at agenda papers, which will temporarily switch off their video feed. Those cabinet members will still be at the meeting, as they will be able to hear and be heard at the meeting, which are virtual meeting requirements under the Coronavirus Regulations 2020. So, does anyone have any questions? Okay, right, then we move on. So the first item is apologies for absence. I don't believe that there are any apologies to record. Declarations of interest. Jack, can I pass to you, as I think you have something you wish to.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I presume that none of the other members of the cabinet have any declarations to declare before I read out a declaration from some other member of the council? No. This is a declaration from Councillor Sean Hughes, who is asking first question that was on a list of question and answer sheet, and for those reasons, he sent me this text to read out as his declaration of interest. Further to my question regarding support of our retail tenants, I wish to declare that I rent a serviced office within Unit 22, Midsummer Enterprise Park, and this building is owned and run by Baines Council. To be clear, my business at Unit 22 has not applied for or received any grants or benefits from this council. Other tenants within this building have applied for support. However, I have no interest in this. To further clarify, my business is not in any way a retail business, and my question is regarding the survival of our retail business sector. End of quote. Can I just clarify also that this declaration is disclosable pecuniary interest declaration?
Thank you, Jack. And just to confirm that there are no other declarations of interest from Cabinet. Right, so next is urgent business. There is no urgent business. And then I'm going to move on to sorry, I'm on the wrong piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the questions from the public and councillors. So there are 10 questions from councillors, and each councillor does get the opportunity to ask a maximum of 2 supplementary questions. So I'm going to go through each question and check with Jack if there's any supplementary questions. And then if there is a councillor that wishes to ask that supplementary question, then they will be invited to speak at that moment. So if we start then with Councillor Sean Hughes, is there a supplementary question?
No supplementary.
Thank you. The second question is from Councillor Karen Warrington. Any supplementaries?
No supplementary.
The third question is from Councillor Karen Warrington and is to Councillor Joanna. Any supplementaries?
No supplementary.
Fourth question from Councillor Karen Warrington. Any supplementaries?
No supplementary.
Fifth question from Councillor Paul May.
Councillor Paul May did ask to send some supplementaries. However, he would have to ask that supplementary in person. I don't know if he's at this meeting at the moment. No, no supplementary.
No supplementary. Thank you. Obviously, if any councillor does want to respond to the answer they're given, this is not the only opportunity that they have. They can also do so directly to the cabinet member if they wish to. So question 6 is again from Councillor Paul May. Was there a supplementary?
No supplementary.
Not if he's not here. 7th question from Councillor Paul May.
No supplementary.
Eighth question from Councillor Paul May, and I take that if Paul May wasn't here before, he's unlikely to be here now, but I believe that Councillor Timble, you had some additional information you wanted to add at this moment.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I think the issue basically regarding the performance of Bath and North East Somerset and the other 3 unit authorities and the joint spatial plan has caused in a lot of questions regarding the ability of Bath and North East Somerset to hold its own in the WECA meetings. I can clearly state that we will be holding our own, and all through work by WECA on any new STS plan which is placed to JSP, which what the original question was about, will be done on evidence base only.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. So the 9th question is from Councillor Paul May.
No supplementary.
Thank you. And the final question is from Councillor Brian Simmons.
No supplementary.
And there were also 2 questions received from the public, and the public don't have the right to ask a supplementary question. So those answers will be sent obviously to members of the public. Okay, so next item is statements, deputations or petitions from the public or councillors. So there are 14 registered speakers for this meeting. And I have agreed that I will move this item to just before item 11 on the agenda in order to keep the fluency of this meeting. So item 7 is the minutes of the 2nd of July 2020. Do I have any comments on the accuracy of these minutes? In that case, then, can I ask somebody to move that these are a correct record?
I'll move, Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to take Councillor Appleyard as the mover of the minutes, and then Councillor Guy, would you like to be the seconder for that?
I'll second that, Chair.
Fantastic. Okay, so can I ask each of you if you approve these minutes then? So I'll quickly go through the list. Councillor, okay, everyone put your hands up.
Thank you. Recorded.
Thank you. I think that was actually slightly different to my original instructions about how to vote. Okay, so the next item that we will turn to is the single member items now requisitioned to Cabinet. There were none. Matters referred to Cabinet by policy development and scrutiny bodies. Again, there are none. And then the recent single member decisions taken. This report is simply to note, and unless anybody has an objection and puts that into the chat facility, I am minded to take a lack of disagreement as agreement, which I believe is allowable in this type of meeting. So I'm not seeing any dissent. So I believe we have noted this item and this report. Okay. Right. So as I said, I've moved this item, the statements and deputations and petitions, to this part of the meeting. And now I'm going to ask each speaker to unmute as I call them, and they will have 3 minutes to address the Cabinet. There may be 1 or 2 questions after you've made your statement, so please do not turn off your video or leave the meeting until I say that you may do so. Okay, so and when you do so, obviously, then you are invited to watch the remainder of the cabinet meeting on the Baines Council's YouTube channel. I will now invite the following speaker to speak. So, David Dredgewell. Hello, David.
Hello. Yeah, I'm on now. Thank you. My concerns are obviously transport, and it's obviously in the context of the fact we now have the Western Gateway Transport Plan, which is drawn up before your administration took over as leader of the council, but I'm concerned about how that transport plan affects Bath and the West Riding Combined Authority area. I feel there is still too much road building in rural areas. The plan area covers from Gloucester down to Wiltshire to Dorset, and the 4 unitary authorities, including North Somerset. There is not much in it on public transport, and there is in the Wecker area and in Bournemouth Pool and Christchurch, strange area this is, and also Cheltenham and Gloucester. It doesn't include Somerset or Amended region, for instance, and I believe it needs a lot more work on it in terms of public transport, and it needs to fit in with the council's own plan on sustainable transport neighbourhoods and about access to livable neighbourhoods. So we've got until 31st of July to make sure that plan's in line. I'm worried that Wecker are driving it. Obviously, I have concerns that Wecker are the transport authority. We need to make sure it affects Bath. My second point is obviously still to say, and I'm very grateful to Neil for all the hard work he's trying to do with Councillor Wright about trying to get the bus service restored. But in a Zoom meeting the other night, there's still a lot of passenger discontent. There's 100 people at that Zoom meeting organised by some councillors, environment groups, James Freeman took part in. The number 9 is still a big issue in the Western area, not running. The number 178 weekends, not running from Radstock to Bristol, and certainly a 37 not running from Bristol to Bath, and just outside the area, the Marshfield Bristol service. That hasn't run for 4.5 months. I do believe we should get Wecker to get these services back into use as soon as possible. Some of the start dates I'm getting now are September, October, and I think that's really unacceptable to some of the communities in the Bath and North East Somerset area. I appreciate they are the Transport Authority. I do think they need more resources in terms of officers to be sent from the 4 unitaries 3 plus 1 into Wecker to beef up their operation and make sure they can deliver for the people of our area, including having a complaint line and having Zoom meetings with the travelling public. On local government reorganisation, I want to be very quick on this one, but say I'm still alarmed that Somerset's now going to go through a reorganisation process. They are asking for Bath and North East Somerset, North Somerset and Wecker to be included in that via the Secretary of State. I just shared that up, I signal that up as a possibility. There is a meeting of Somerset on the 29th when they will vote in order to make sure that... Okay, and finally, just can I ask that obviously we clean the bus shelters and get the travel centre reopened in the bus station for the benefit of the people locally, and make sure there's proper social distancing notices on bus shelters and infrastructure around Bath and North East Somerset and Wecker. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Leader of Council.
Thank you, David. I'm just going to ask Councillor Butters, did you have any questions you wanted to ask of David?
Yes, thank you, Leader. Thanks very much for your statement, full as ever, Dave, which we'll take into account. As far as the number 9 goes, we are actively pressing first to see what they might be able to do with some rejigging of the 20 service. So we hope there will be at least some positive outcome to that. But aside from that, would you agree that the government should be taking the opportunity now to complete the electrification to Bristol, both via Bath and from Bristol Parkway?
Yes, yes, and going back to my concerns over that Western Gateway Transport Plan, Neil and the Leader of the Council and Councillor Wright, I believe that should be written in the Regional Transport Plan. I'm extremely disappointed not to see electrification being a top priority of the Western Gateway Transport Plan. Also, nor do I see any light rail commitments in there, and nor do I see St Anne's or Salford Station or Corsham. So I think we need to make sure that Regional Transport Plan, which will go into Secretary of State's hands later in the year. I just finally say, please, if there's anything you can do to get rid of this second transport board and get one for the Southwest region, that would be greatly received by passionate groups. We don't need 2 transport authorities covering Devon and Cornwall and the rest and Somerset and the rest for the rest of the Southwest.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, I believe now you are, I think you are free to go. So thank you very much for your statement. Okay, so the next questions are on the future of Entry Hill and approach golf courses. And I'd like to invite Councillor Mark Elliott to unmute and to address Cabinet.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, speaking as one of the ward councillors for Lansdowne, with reference to the approach golf course specifically, fundamentally the message I'd like to convey is that we've had significant representation from residents about the approach golf course reopening as a golf course as soon as possible, as long as the public access is maintained. And no one, as far as I'm aware, has contacted us suggesting that they would actively prefer a change in the use of the site. I completely understand the financial pressures the council and GLL are under because of the COVID crisis, and support the idea that a way should be found to run the site in a way that's at least cost neutral to the council rather than it being subsidised like it is at the moment. But the site is an iconic green space in the centre of Bath, which will need to be managed and cared for in some way. Leaving it unmanaged is clearly not an option. And given the local support for it reopening as a golf course, the fact it's been a golf course for a long time, and the fact that the golfers and other recreational users of the site have coexisted pretty happily over that time, if a specialist golf provider can be found, this is by far and away the best option for the site, for local residents, for golfers, both from Bath and visitors, and for the council. I'm aware there's a possibility of splitting the site between the current 18-hole and 12-hole courses with different kinds of activity on the two sites. If that's for golf-derived sports, which maintain the same kind of landscape and the public access, I don't see a problem at all with that. If there were to be a significant change of use, however, I think that that would need to be backed up by proper public consultation. But I'm also confident that no such change of use is currently being proposed or considered. I'd just like to add that with an eye on the climate emergency the council has already declared, and the ecological emergency I very much hope we will be declaring at the next council meeting, I'd like to see the environmental credentials of any new management company for the site being given significant weight in any tender process. Finally, whilst the site is not being actively managed as a golf course, there have been some problems with antisocial behaviour, and I know that the council officers and youth workers have been trying to address that. And there has also been significant deterioration in the greens on the course, which I think needs to be halted with some basic maintenance. But getting the site back into managed use as a golf course as quickly as possible seems to be the best mitigation for all of the current issues faced by all of the interested parties, the council included. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Do I have any questions that any of Cabinet wish to ask of Mark?
Yes, please.
Okay, Crosley.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott, for your piece there. You would approve then going through the tender process as swiftly as possible within the construct of what we're allowed to do under local government to enable us to reach a decision as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. The sooner we can reopen as a golf course, the better.
Thank you, Mark. In that case, then you are also free to go, and obviously I hope you'll watch the rest of the Cabinet meeting on YouTube.
Thank you, Chair.
I'd now like to call Adam Gretton. I believe you're on the phone, aren't you, Adam?
Let me join. Yes, I'm here. Thanks very much. So yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I'm Adam Gretton. I'm the founder and chair of More Trees for Bath and North East Somerset, and we're a not-for-profit community group that's been planting trees for the last 12 years. We've been made aware of Avon Wildlife Trust's bid for Entry Hill Golf Course, and we'd like to voice our support for their plans. The reason being, you, the council, have declared a climate emergency, and tomorrow we're voting on whether you declare an ecological emergency. And from our point of view, whether this is voted through or not, we are in an ecological and climate emergency. The two go hand in hand and cannot really be separated from each other. And as you'll see in their bid, Avon Wildlife Trust have pointed out that 41% of UK wildlife species are in decline and 15% are at risk of extinction, primarily due to the threats of climate change and habitat loss. So, you know, although they are green and pleasant to look at, golf courses are typically quite sterile environments where chemicals such as pesticides are used, and even where pesticides aren't used, the frequent mowing and emphasis on certain grasses makes them deceptively barren places as far as wildlife goes. Most of us are acutely aware of the importance of bees and pollinating insects, and yet we continue to allow widespread use of pesticides and removal of habitat. With Entry Hill, we believe we've got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity here to create a rich wildlife haven, which local residents and visitors can also enjoy. Avon Wildlife Trust have presented a really good innovative model, and one which we hope to be part of. We're exploring the potential for Moortrees Baines to have a community tree nursery as part of Avon Wildlife Trust plans for Entry Hill. And, you know, this would see us engaging with the local community, with schools, to collect seed from local trees, germinate these seeds and grow them on for planting in the local area. We hope to be able to make it easier for you to hit your target of planting 100,000 trees by May 2023, and also reduce the need for you to be importing so many trees from abroad. We've got nothing against golf, you know, but we do feel there's plenty of other places to play locally. A nature reserve will appeal to a much broader and larger group of people. And I ask you to support Avon Wildlife Trust's bid and grab this incredible opportunity for Bath. So thank you for listening.
Sorry, I made that mistake. I didn't unmute myself. Thank you, Adam. Are there any questions from Cabinet for Adam? No? Okay, well, thank you very much, Adam. And obviously your statement will be taken into account when we get to that item. So again, if you'd like to leave this meeting, and you're obviously, it'd be great if you watch the rest of it on YouTube. I'd now like to invite Adam Kerr to address the meeting.
You mean Robin Kerr?
Hello?
Do you mean Robin Kerr or Adam Kerr?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I meant Robin Kerr, yourself.
Right, yeah, splendid. Thank you. Right. Well, FOBRA, I'm the chairman of FOBRA. It brings together 33 individual residents' associations across Bath with a combined membership of around 5,000. We citizens treasure our green spaces, both for recreation and for the appearance and beauty of this World Heritage City. Rus in Urbe being one of the key features of Bath's inscription by UNESCO in 1987. So residents are always worried when these lungs are threatened with change. Clarity and consultation must be watchwords, therefore. Perhaps as an added protection, one or both areas should be declared local green spaces to ensure their conservation in perpetuity, particularly as a local plan is entering its review process. The two sites which you are considering today are on opposite sides of the city and are very different, linked only by golf and the fact that both seem to be operating at a loss. There has been much consultation on the future of Entry Hill, but a worrisome variation in the origin of many respondents, seemingly from most of the country, whereas one would have expected both equal treatment and local interest to predominate. This casts doubt on the validity of that consultation. Nothing similar has yet been done for the approach course, so if any material change is contemplated there, for example, on the 12-hole course, consultation has to take place, as Councillor Elliott has pointed out. As far as golf is concerned, Entry Hill is a handicap course registered with British Golf, whereas approach is not, so they are rather different animals. Both are also enjoyed by walkers for relaxation and for observation of the wildlife, so some form of area management is vital, if only to prevent the kind of bad behaviour which has sadly been seen there during lockdown. They can't be allowed simply to go wild. It is right in these straitened times that you investigate whether the reported revenue losses can be reduced or eliminated. But let this not be at the expense of their continuing to be fine open spaces, freely open for recreation. In recent years, the Cabinet paper shows approach to have made a profit. And I understand that at least one of the commercial bidders is confident that this can soon happen again, and with both sites, if properly managed. thereby solving the financial problem as well as taking the risk from the council. There are nearby examples which are profitable. Uses other than golf have been proposed for Entry Hill, such as a biking park, which might be even more popular than golf. However, during the bidding process, the council would have to make sure it was not left with an expensive white elephant, which might also cause more noise, traffic and parking in a quiet residential area than golf does. I would particularly urge, therefore, that the criteria for marking the bids mentioned in para 2.3 of your paper are made public, and that you insist on the final decision coming back to you or even to a full council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And your comments are duly noted. I'm just checking if there's any questions that anybody wants to raise.
Yes, please. Can I first of all thank Robin and previously Adam? Can I say, I don't know where some of these rumours come from, but there is absolutely not a cat's chance of these not being open public green spaces. That has never been anything that's been under discussion, and we're not doing that. What we're looking for is to address the issue of usage of space and also where we're making deficits. Can I also assure you that, contrary to expectations, and it will be in my speech later, the approach golf courses has lost money, quite substantial money, for the last 3 years. So my question to Robin Kerr, who knows about finances, how would you justify supporting a continuation of loss making on approach golf courses if we don't look at how we tender the process and get it out? And as a final point, any tender process before it's awarded involves an element of public consultation. So there will be consultations on options in approach.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. We entirely support the tender process, provided it remains with golf, as indeed Councillor Elliott said. And I would just point out, which I did say in my piece, is that there are nearby examples that do make a profit with the same sort of pitch and putt format. So go and have a look at those, that's all.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other comments or points that want to be made to Robin. So Robin, you too are free to go, and please watch the remainder of the cabinet meeting on YouTube. I'd now like to call Emilio Pimentel-Reid to address cabinet.
Hello, I'm Emilio Pimentel-Reid. I speak today as the chair of the Friends of the High Common regarding the future of our local green space. This section of Royal Victoria Park, which some of you know as the Approach Golf Course, is currently officially closed for golf without any specific reopening date. In the meantime, it continues to experience antisocial behavior, limited maintenance, which endangers the greens and more generally the natural environment, and a general sense of loss of council control. Unlike Entry Hill, where persons from as far as Scotland have apparently been able to have a say and been consulted in a controversial 250-page plus report, at the High Common, this has not been the case. And we understand, even though we are local residents, we won't be formally consulted about its future. Councillor Crossley has confirmed on the record that there is no threat to, in his words, to the public open access to the High Common. He claims there will be no physical changes to the park, no additional allotments built, and no change from the current golf activities. It has been confirmed that a new specialist golf operator is going to be brought in, and that they should pay the full cost of maintenance, guaranteeing that the golf course will not need to be subsidized by the council at all. I would emphasize that the efforts of the Friends of the High Common were crucial in winning this clear statement after months of confusion and concern. However, Residents wonder whether these guarantees sound too good to be true. We've been told that golf does not only mean golf, but the nebulous golf-derived sports, which can include golf frisbee and possibly anything else that the new operator suggests can be played on a green field. We understand that the 12-hole course on the western side of the park is likely to close, but this apparently doesn't qualify as a change of use, even if maintenance is dropped. Finally, there is the phrase public open access, which a new specialist golf operator may choose to redefine the High Common, just as officious council employees have done in the recent past, trying to limit residents' previous established use. In an environment when residents' voices are increasingly not being heard, our community hopes that we won't see children, the vulnerable, dog owners, elderly residents, the Nordic walkers, and many other local residents excluded and corralled onto narrow paths. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emilio, for your observations. Can I ask if anybody wishes to ask a question of Emilio? No? Okay, thank you very much for your statement, and obviously that will be taken into account in the discussion on Entry Hill and Approach golf courses.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to ask Elizabeth Hallam if you would like to unmute and to address Cabinet.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I couldn't find myself. So I'm talking on behalf of Entry Hill Golf Course, which I'd like to say is not yet out for the count. And we read so many headlines. Every round of golf at Entry Hill costs residents £8. Graphs show a national decline in golf. Cabinet papers state a 2015 bid was unprofitable. But a decline, really, you need look no further than 2 9-hole courses, Farringdon, Gurney and Whitley, some 40 minutes drive from Bath, flourishing, busy. Whitley seems to be taking 900 bookings a week, headed visitor booking, each for 2 to 3 players paying £9 each. And both clubs are aware of the latent interest Golf England reports in the Bath area. In 9 categories, it reports 6,000 latent golfers, double the numbers in the rest of Somerset. Bids unlikely for Entry Hill? Before the consultation had finished, Greensward Sports came forward with a bid with impeccable green credentials, which will not disturb the habitat of existing wildlife, unlike other disruptive proposals. The bid welcomes the need for community access to the course and offers an amenity totally in harmony with the local area. And that consultation, it was so weighted against golf and negligent that it did not mention money. An urban bike park, a wildlife park, wonderful, but financially viable? Would grants, philanthropic donations, council support make them free to all citizens of Bath forever? Or paying attractions needing mass visitor support? The out-and-out winner of the survey was mountain biking, but can you take seriously results when over half the respondents had never visited Entry Hill, where 72% were male, with respondents from the north of Scotland to Guernsey, concentrations in the north of England, the Midlands and Bristol? The cycling lobby on steroids? Yet a pressure group unable to raise a bid. Golf presented 1,000 signature local petition and has attracted bids. And should you really delay a decision while the cyclists go with begging bowl to try to raise sponsorship for a cause, the council then undertakes to build for an outside manager. You have bids on the table. Mr. Boyce is from a successful local businessman putting his own money on the line to make Entry Hill an affordable golf course for all ages of local people. A decision needs to be made quickly, and Mr. Boyce's bid deserves support.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I'm now going to ask Cabinet if they have any questions to ask. Okay. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Your statement is duly noted, and we will obviously take that into account in our discussion. So now you are free to leave, and you may watch this on YouTube. Next, I would like to invite Nicolette Boter to speak to Cabinet.
Thank you, Chair. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I speak as both a strategy, policy and sustainability professional and as a citizen living a 15-minute walk from the lower end of the Entry Hill golf course. Although I'm well aware of the site's underutilised potential and am passionate about finding a more desirable and feasible future use, as yet I have no particular view as to what that might be. However, my heart sank on first reading the agenda papers for this item, for it seemed that the council had already decided the best use for the site and the best way of procuring it, and that in so doing, it hasn't learnt from the costly environmental decision-making mistakes of the previous administration. Lack of strategic contextual awareness, flawed stakeholder consultation and option evaluation processes, and inappropriate pre-framing of politically and value-sensitive decisions, to name but a few. So what could the Cabinet do to correct this impression, and perhaps would have done if they weren't so busy dealing with the pandemic? Firstly, note the biases in the consultation process and the deficiencies in the option evaluation methodology, leading to the report author's unwarranted inference of the Family Cycle Centre mountain bike park being the preferred option. Secondly, align the Council's objectives and priorities for use of the site with those of its mould-breaking 2019-23 corporate strategy, as updated today in the light of the COVID-19 response, and amplified in tomorrow's expected declaration of a Baines nature emergency. And thirdly, rather than design the procurement process around a particular preferred use, why not choose one most likely to generate the desired long-term economic, social and environmental outcomes? For example, rather than the design, build, fund and operate route suggested in the report, why not consider selecting a preferred partner or partners with whom to develop the site holistically, thereby allowing bidders to bring their skill, judgment, creativity to bear in finding uses for the site, and also in engaging, involving community stakeholders in that. And critically, in attracting new sources of funding. To conclude, rather than settle for a swift, utilitarian and good enough solution for the Entry Hill site, I urge you to seize this pivotal moment in our locality's journey towards a thriving, greener future.
Nicolette,
and the opportunities of the site, its unique topography and relationship with the World Heritage City of Bath, to create something visionary, invigorating and inspiring, and thereby proof the future of our prized landscape city.
Thank you, Nicolette. Any questions for Nicolette? Okay. Thank you. So Nicolette, obviously you are now free to go, and free obviously to watch the remainder of the meeting on YouTube. So thank you for your statement.
Except that I'm doing a second statement at some stage, I think.
yes, that's what I wanted to say. Nicolette has one more statement for later agenda.
My apologies, Nicolette. Yes, I know that you want to speak also on the corporate strategy progress, and actually I will just check at this moment. Would you like to speak immediately before that, or would you like to speak within this section?
Because I don't think I can hang around till it comes up, so I will do it at the end of this section.
Thank you. Then I would like to ask, so if you'd like to mute yourself and turn your video off for now, Nicolette, and then I'll bring you back at that time. So now I'd like to invite Katina Beckett, if she would like to unmute and turn her video on and to address the Cabinet.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, thank you. Loud and clear.
Hi, okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dina, for allowing me the opportunity to speak this afternoon. My name is Katina Beckett, and I am the chair of the Entry Hill Community Association. We are the residents' association closest to Entry Hill Golf Course. I would like to start by expelling two myths. One, that the community on Entry Hill are not open to change. Two, that the residents on Entry Hill would welcome any proposal as long as traffic is diverted to Wellsway. Entry Hill Golf Course is a lovely green lawn and a conservation area on the doorstep of residential housing. It is already home to wonderful wildlife. The site needs a sustainable proposal that maintains and enhances the ecology of the golf course. The council shouldn't have to subsidise golf or any other activity at this site. The recent consultation and survey saw the future of our golf course fall into the hands of individuals who not only did not reside in our area, but were actively lobbied across the UK to respond to the survey. We believe this altered the results in favour of a bike park. The mountain bike and sculpture park may have their appeal, but not at this site. They are both tourist attractions. They require a substantial increase in outside visitors to make them viable. In fact, the sculpture park has already suggested on their plans that coaches can arrive to the site via Entry Hill. Feedback from Baines Traffic and Highways confirms that this is not safe or practical. Both proposals will need considerable money and excavation works in order to change what doesn't need changing. Our wildlife will be gone. We will lose the current balance of grassland and woodland biodiversity and indeed the landscape. The golf course also lies on contaminated land. It contains domestic, commercial and industrial waste. There is no doubt that any upheaval has a very high risk of releasing toxic substances. We have been active in communicating with one of the golf proposers. He is local. He has knowledge of grass species and ecology. He supports incorporating Scholars Way cycling path onto the site and would also include an outdoor education centre, ecological trails and a new vibrant community cafe with golf as the leisure activity, promoted to a wider Baines demographic. He can step onto the site with very minimal disruption and costs, with a plan in harmony with the existing environment and begin the recovery process. We request, please, that the Cabinet include the Golf Plus option as one of the proposals that go through to the tendering process. Thank you, Chair, for your time.
Thank you, Katina. And I'm just looking to see if there is any questions that Cabinet would wish to make. Okay, thank you. Just checking, Katina, you want due to speak later as well. So if you would like to, if you'd like to, you're now you can now leave the meeting, and obviously you can watch the rest of the meeting on YouTube. So thank you for your statement.
Thank you.
Okay, my next speaker is Amy Cottard.
Thank
Hi,
you, Dana.
Amy. Would you like to address the meeting, please?
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I am speaking today as both a Bath resident and as Director of Conservation at Avon Wildlife Trust. As the Council has recognised, we are facing a climate and nature emergency, locally as well as globally, with accelerating declines in wildlife undermining the natural systems on which we depend. Entry Hill presents a significant opportunity to address the ecological, climate, health and economic crises we now face. Avon Wildlife Trust and Forest of Imagination have submitted a proposal to maximise this opportunity by creating a new nature and art park for Bath. Bath is an internationally important area for wildlife, so green spaces like Entry Hill can provide vital links in the wildlife corridors needed to support nature's recovery and deliver a net gain for biodiversity in Bath. Sites like Entry Hill can help tackle air pollution through natural solutions such as tree planting and improving the ability of the land to absorb and store carbon through the restoration of soils and meadow creation. This is currently limited by intensive and damaging management. Opening the site to everyone will enable people to get closer to nature and have enormous health and well-being benefits for residents and visitors, placing the importance of the environment, creativity and the arts at the heart of this process. Developing a new landscape-scale outdoor offer for visitors to the city will aid a green recovery for Bath. It will offer something new for visitors and residents by establishing a nature-rich landscape and create valuable green infrastructure that contributes to the West of England Nature Recovery Network. Bath and North East Somerset Council have limited assets available for such transformational projects with long-term ecological, societal and economic benefits. A nature and art park at Entry Hill can incorporate multiple benefits for the local community, visitors, Bath's economy and the environment, whilst enabling the council to deliver their ambitions to address the ecological and climate emergencies. Nature urgently needs our help to recover, and we need nature and creativity to thrive. It is not yet too late to make a difference. I urge Bath and North East Somerset Council to make addressing the ecological and climate crisis the most important factor in determining the future of all their land holdings, and in doing so, instigate a green recovery for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, I have a question.
Councillor Wright.
Thank you. Hi. Sorry. Hello, Amy. I just wondered, as in your role as director of the Avon Wildlife Trust, what you could tell us about green deserts and how they affect the landscape.
So yes, there are many green spaces that people believe to be of wildlife benefit that aren't. So Entry Hill would be one such green desert where it appears green, and yes, you do have trees on site and you do have areas of green space, so grasslands, but those grasslands are very heavily managed. At the moment, Entry Hill is mown in some places 3 times a week, in others weekly, and actually that decimates invertebrate populations on those sites. And if you don't have insects, you won't have other species, you won't have birds, you won't have bats, you won't have other species on the site. It's absolutely vital that every area of green space is considered in a way that and managed in a way that maximizes biodiversity as opposed to minimizing it, which is what we have currently on intensively managed sites. And this is in other areas as well, so that's across parks and other areas. And Baines Council, I really welcomed the work that's been done in some areas of the city to address this. In my own home area in Twerton, there are many areas of grassland that are now left uncut throughout a lot of the season, and wildlife is able to thrive in those areas where previously it wasn't.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions at this moment, Amy. So in that case, you may leave the meeting. And as I've said to others, please watch the remainder of the meeting on YouTube.
I will. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to ask Adam Reynolds if he would like to unmute, and if he's on video to turn his video on and then to address the meeting.
Hi there. I'm talking on behalf of Walk Ride Bath. Just wanted to say that Walk Ride Bath would like to highlight the extremely high response rate from under 18-year-olds to the consultation. It was about 10%, which I believe is quite unique for that sort of public consultation of any kind. Walk Ride Bath will also ask the council to recognise the strategic importance of Scholars Way on Bath's southern plateau, a walking and cycling network that the council is currently working on that connects 23,000 students and communities to their places of work and the Odd Down Park and Ride. Walk, Ride, Bath would ask that the council to recognise the poor access to bus services that Entry Hill residents currently have. And in light of these items, Walk, Ride, Bath is requesting that the council guarantee good walking and cycling routes are established across Entry Hill site, both at the top and the bottom of the site. Walk, Ride, Bath also recognises that any decision as to what to do with the site is coloured by the impact on local Entry Hill residents, particularly a major concern being any increase in traffic. Walk, Ride, Bath requests that the council opens the existing entrance on Wellsway and closes the Entry Hill entrance to vehicular access. This removes all unnecessary traffic from the quiet Entry Hill residential area in line with the recently published Livable neighbourhood strategy, while ensuring that the decisions based on maximising climate emergency activity and budget criteria can be made without impacting the peace and quiet of the Entry Hill community. The movement of the entrance to Wellsway enables the council to work with Bath Bid, Wecker and LEP to develop the site into something that could create many job opportunities for Bear Flat, Odd Down, Fox Hill and Coombe Down residents, while maximising climate emergency social and economic benefits for all of Bath. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Do I have any questions for Adam? Councillor Crossley.
Thank you very much, Adam. You might well have sent me this, but I've had so much information on, I've had hundreds of emails on this with people arguing every single case, and it's been very passionate. You might well have sent me your plans for your walk and cycle routes across the park, but I haven't got them immediately hand. Can I ask you to resend me that email if you've sent me, and so I can have a look at it and consider it? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Adam. Again, I'm not seeing anybody else who wants to ask you a question at this moment. So can I invite you to leave the meeting and then to watch the rest of it on YouTube? Okay, my next speaker, who looks like already prepared, is Councillor Winston Duguid, please, if you'd like to speak to Cabinet.
Thank you, Dina. Entry Hill is in our ward of Widcombe and Lincoln. I think the process has been very helpful. It's stimulated discussion and debate, and particularly for the bikers, a lot of out-of-area support. Indeed, of the 3,200 respondents, 2,500 have never even been to Entry Hill or have been there rarely. That's 78%. I'm particularly interested in the 960 who live in southwest Bath. I support the proposal for you today to go to tender as soon as possible and reach a decision based on the 4 criteria mentioned. I share concerns of locals who are now very keen to reduce traffic on Entry Hill, that both the mountain bike option and that of the Sculpture Wildlife Park are both full-blown visitor centres, and to be successful will create substantial extra footfall and considerably more car and even coach traffic. Their scale on this site will be a radical transformation of what is there now. There are other, better and more suitable sites in Baines for both, if it is still the desire of Cabinet to extend the visitor economy into new areas. However, I don't see the existing rather sad rundown golf operations, starved in the last 6 years of investment and marketing and using outdated and harmful fertilizers and pesticides, of being able to offer the community what it wants going forward. Instead, I'm impressed by the new dialogue of those seeking a park with a cafe, with local events, a forest school, and outdoor education and some sort of sports activity, who are talking with those who want a reinvigorated golf offering aimed at a younger demographic, using sustainable grass species that bring down both course maintenance and will give an enhanced grassland and woodland biodiversity net gain. It looks a robust proposal, and I commend the newly formed Entry Hill Community Association in bringing together these parties and forming a powerful coalition of local support. Couple that prospect with a cycle and pedestrian path on the southern end of the site that links Hawthorne Grove to Wellsway, then we have an easier route for local residents to get to and from buses, and a safer cycling route for students at Ralph Allen and the University of Bath, as well as cycling commuters. Some have christened this Scholars Way. This would be a win-win for the site. But there's a prospect of another win-win. I also believe it's feasible to consider a smaller mountain bike experience on the Odd Down sports ground in the woodland area that the council owns. I'm not pretending for a moment that it would be Longleat in scale or Black Runs, but it would offer a future of 3-in-1 experience of mountain biking with the existing facilities of road biking and BMX. Combine that with a cycle lane down Billingford Road, a pedestrian crossing across Wellsway, and we create a safe package for cyclists from the Twin Tunnels going up to the university at relatively low cost. Lastly, worth talking and joined up thinking here, pedestrian and cycling routes linking to a cycling centre of excellence at Odd Down, and mouth-watering prospect worthy of a Lib Dem manifesto.
Thank you, Councillor Dogood. Any questions for Winston? Councillor Wright.
Hello, Councillor Dogood. I just wonder how much you know about how many people access Prior Park Landscape Garden and how they get there.
No, not off the top of my head, Councillor Wright.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm not seeing any more questions. So Councillor Dogood, you can leave the meeting, and obviously please watch the rest of it on YouTube. Okay, so my next speaker is Patricia Ludlum. Patricia, would you like to unmute and turn your video on?
I can't get the video on. Speak. No, video. Start video.
We can hear you, Patricia.
Speak. Okay. Start video. Sorry, it's not letting me start the video.
That's fine. Just
so
if you speak.
I just speak. Yes, so I'm Patricia Ludlum and I'm representing Sandhill and Summerhill Road Residents Association about the approach golf course. Sandhill borders the north side of the golf course on High Common, and many of our properties have boundaries with the common and access gates onto it. I might be able to start this. Oh, sorry. Other properties overlook the course. So we've got a very close association with the common and hence the golf course. And Sandhill residents are particularly concerned about any change that could affect the land that's been here for over a century as a wonderful green and open space. Golf has been played here for 60 years, and with careful management of the land for golf, a tranquil setting has been able to be maintained so that walkers and golfers can enjoy it in harmony. So our residents want the golf to continue on the 18-hole course, and we appreciate the financial constraints, but note that the approach course actually made a profit 3 years ago, although I do know that that didn't include maintenance, which the council did. But with good management and enterprise, we feel it could surely do so again. Golf is played on the approach course by young and old and seems very popular with students. The course is now closed and we're told is unlikely to open until a new operator has taken over. And as this could take months, we're particularly concerned about the lack of management of the land now, and this has led to antisocial behaviour. So during lockdown, the common has been enjoyed by large numbers of residents who've come for exercise, picnics, or just admiring the wonderful views from the top. Golf has been played still by anybody who's got their own clubs, although with some difficulty when people are sitting on the greens. But unfortunately, there have been groups, mostly youths, who spoil it all for the many. Some bring bikes and ride around the greens, later racing down the course at high speed and then come back and do it again. Others noisily set up football games on the greens. And worst of all, the groups of young people gather in the evening and often stay on after dusk, sometimes till midnight and beyond, drinking, playing music and creating a disturbance. There are no controls in place that we can refer to. There used to be a sign saying no cycling on the course, but this has been removed. So we urge the council to address the problem of the antisocial behaviour, which is happening during this interim period before an operator is taken on. And The possibility is new signs with restrictions such as seen for the botanical gardens and could be installed at the entrances. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Do I have any questions for Patricia? In that case, I'd like to thank you for your statement and also for being able to join us by video as well. And please, like others, please watch the rest of the meeting on YouTube. So thank you for your statement. Okay, I would now like to invite Lucy Hodge, Councillor Lucy Hodge, to make the final statement on item 11. So if I could ask Lucy if she could unmute herself and also to turn her video on.
Thank you, Cabinet. I would just like to say I'm sorry I was late for the meeting. I was held up by one of my children's music exams and I don't have my prepared speech with me, but I would just like to say, as local councillor, a few words on behalf of the Approach Golf Course. I think everything has been said in detail by our residents that have spoken, but as local councillor, I would like to say that Mark and I have listened to the views of many local residents associations and community groups about and recognise the concern about any even small potential change to the use of the Approach Golf Course, even if this is just in terms of tree planting or wilding of the area. We have spoken to people face to face. Mark has held a Zoom conference call and we've received a very large number of emails. I would just like to recognise that this is a very important site in the centre of Bath. It's an iconic site that is on the edge of a heritage area with lots of listed buildings. It's a site that many residents of Lansdowne enjoy using, and it's in a prominent location on the tourist bus route, and as a well-maintained golf course it has made a very positive contribution to the area. It's the place where everyone comes to sledge in the winter on the rare opportunity we have snow, and it's a wonderful atmosphere. What I would like to say is that the overwhelming view I feel is that this site should be well maintained and not over commercialised. To this end, while golf is not everyone's cup of tea, what is important is that it offers an activity which will provide the revenue to maintain this space as we would all wish to see it. And finally, what I'd like to say is that we have a wide range of visitors to Bath, and what I feel is there is a shortage of is really an alternative of outside exercise opportunities for people. Not only we have hen and stag parties, school reunions, university reunions, family reunions. People don't arrive here with all their walking kit or bicycles for all sorts of activities, but they often want in their programme an outside thing to do to complement their time spent at museums or shopping. And I think the provision of golf as a recreational opportunity at an affordable price offers an activity for our visitors that isn't available elsewhere in the city, and I feel this is a real asset and should be supported on this site. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy, and I hope your child did well in their music exam. Are there any questions for Lucy?
Thank you.
Thank you. So Lucy, you may also watch the remainder of this on YouTube. Okay, so that concludes the speakers in terms of the future of Entry Hill and Approach Golf Course. As you will remember, Nicolette would like to speak also on the corporate strategy progress and issues, and so I'm going to ask Nicolette if she would like to make her statement on this item now.
Thank you, Dean. As both a citizen and a sustainable development professional, last February I welcomed the Council's mould breaking 4-year corporate strategy and integrated corporate delivery programme and budget. I similarly welcome and find much to support in the corporate strategy update later in today's agenda, evaluating the impact of COVID-19 on its robustness and deliverability. And in this context, I would like to make some observations on the key issues and actions it identifies. Firstly, in further developing quick and easy online engagement, please be aware that from the perspective of one wanting to engage with the council, this can be frustratingly uninteractive, time inefficient, and absolutely no substitute for the sort of collaborative working that resulted in, amongst other things, the community engagement charter, which was appended to the corporate strategy. Secondly, whilst frequent reference is made to the need to address adverse equality impacts in strategies, there seems to be little in the renewal work streams to ensure that the perspectives, interests and insights of those bearing the brunt of the anticipated economic recession, such as the growing number of precarious workers and the disproportionately affected female and young people, that these perspectives and interests are taken into consideration in creating the desired green, resilient economy in which all citizens and communities thrive. And finally, the recently formed Bath and North East Somerset Economic Renewal Partnership seems to be largely composed of senior representatives of established Bath-based institutions in currently dominant sectors of the Bath and North East Somerset economy. Given that the Council's renewal vision will require systemic change in our economy, surely a broader membership, including, for examples of champions of innovative, purpose-led, not-for-profit businesses, as well as unaffiliated individuals and excluded groups, surely this would be advisable to include such people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicolette. Does anybody have any questions to ask of Nicolette?
Yes, can I ask a question? Councillor
Yes,
Sarah
of course, Sarah. Councillor Warren.
Nicolette, would you be willing to have a conversation with me about your vision for the Economic Renewable Partnership and how we could improve its membership?
I would be absolutely delighted to.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Nicolette. You may now leave the meeting, and obviously if you want to watch the remainder of it on YouTube, then that would, we'll be delighted if you did. Okay, so we now move on to item 11, which is the future of Entry Hill and approach golf courses. I would now like to ask Councillor Paul Crosley if he would like to introduce this item.
Thank you very much, Leader. Thank you, by the way, to all the speakers, and I will go through and address some of the points raised by the speakers before going on to my prepared bit. But I think the Cabinet must realise that from that very diverse group of speakers, I think you can get a really good view about why this has been such an engaging process, such a challenging process, and such a process that is evoking very deep passions as well. And it's quite right, they are important spaces. So let's think of them as three spaces. There's the Entry Hill space, Approach 18 and Approach 12. And I think one of the speakers was talking about signage and misuse. Well, misuse in the evening is nothing to do with what it could have happened before, because whatever we do, this is a daylight hour operation, and it was a daylight hour operation. The fact that it's not being so well used and is therefore perhaps attracting more visibility for antisocial behaviour is an issue that we're taking up, but it's one that we've got across all our parks. It's nothing unique. This COVID release mechanism that people have got and their ability to drop litter and behave in a way that they wouldn't have done perhaps before COVID has been absolutely staggering. On one recent weekend, for instance, we removed 4 tons of litter from our parks across Bath and North East Somerset. So the antisocial behaviour is part of a wider phenomenon, I think. Someone said that the process was corrupt, or not, they didn't use the word corrupt, but was flawed because so many people from outside joined in, and they specifically mentioned the biking community. Can I assure you, we also had golfing entries from a wider area than just Baines. We had nearly 2,000 responses, which are from Baines postcodes. The actual number is 1,919. And the percentages that we got from that 1,900 were actually very similar to the percentages that we got from the whole consultation as a whole. As Adam said, we had 10% of young people in the consultation. This is unique, almost unique in our consultation processes, and it will be fairly unique in the consultation processes of most councils. Most councils in their consultation process do not hear the voice of the young. 10% of our consultation was those young people, and that should be something to celebrate. There's also been a lot of myths put out, and can I tell you, there is no decision. One person said that the report was biased. I've just gone through it, and it just reports things factually. So there isn't a bias in it, and we are making a decision that is not based on bias. So we have some very exciting proposals. We have a number of exciting proposals. We have a number of people that are addressing those concerns and issues. We have available for growing space, for looking at things, already 130k, which comes from section 106, which will be available for Entry Hill, but not Approach. And can I assure you, the number of times I have to dismiss the myth, there are a lot of myths going round. 1.4, paragraph 1.4 says the 18-hole golf course at Approach will stay to retain 18 holes, and the 12 hole is what we're looking for others. And the phrase we've been using is golf derived sport. So the fact that there's people cycling up and down it does not mean that we want to create a cycle route. We are looking for healthy options that keep the open aspect of the whole of the Approach side. And we're looking for healthy aspects that look at the way we can move from a loss-making facility to making a profit. And certainly we've had interesting offers from golf, which address some of the issues about desert grass by using new grasses, new techniques. And we've shown that they have shown that they can put those forward at profit, as we've had other ideas that can go for profit. So can I assure everyone that as we go through this process, there is not a predetermined outcome. On the issue of signs, particularly at Approach Golf Course, and I think it was Patricia who mentioned the signs were all wrong. I am more than happy to meet with you, Patricia, and with your 2 ward councillors to go and have a look at the signage problem and see what signs we do need to improve on in that area, especially as in light of the growing antisocial behaviour that we seem to be getting as we come out of COVID lockdown and people's tensions and frustrations are released. So thank you very much for all those contributions. I've made quite a lot of notes on them, and they will be going forward into the next phase of this. And I'll now come on to our speech, because unfortunately, the decision we make today is actually to go to a consultation. So first of all, I'd like to thank the leisure section of the council, who put so much time and effort into this item, to Lemon Gazelle, who run our consultation, to GLL, and to the many, many residents, including the speakers tonight, who engaged in the process at the consultation online via the many hundreds of emails I've had, and since yesterday, text messages that are flooding into my phone. I recognise and understand the passion with which all people hold their favourite pastime in. The 2 sites have been closed since the start of this consultation so that our debt as a council does not increase, and the sites will remain closed until we have appointed new operators for the sites. We originally anticipated making a decision on the future of Entry Hill site based on the results of the consultation that took place a few months ago. However, the consultation process ignited a lot of interest in the site, and this has led to a number of parties submitting bids or proposals that respond well to the criteria that were set out in the consultation. And these were: 1, addressing climate change; 2, encouraging more people and to be more active more often; and 3, to ensure that the site does not require a financial subsidy from the council for the future. And then came COVID. In addition to a climate emergency and a nature emergency, we now also have a financial emergency. And this has resulted in supporting GLL and working with them in partnership on getting our sporting facilities back to use. And that is why the Approach 12 hole and the Approach 18 hole have been added to this decision-making process. In recent weeks, at least 3 leisure trusts have gone out of business, locked up their facilities and handed the keys back to the local council, therefore leaving no leisure provision at all. We do not want that to happen here. Sport and leisure is a very important part of what makes living in Bath and North East Somerset such an attraction option for all our residents. The interest that has been sparked by this consultation is in marked contrast to the previous time that the golf offer was put out, when no interest was shown. At this point, I'll just describe the 3 sites for those people listening who don't know the 3 sites in such detail. The Entry Hill is a 9-hole par 3 golf course on the Wellsway. And over recent years, it has seen a decline in use. There are other comparable courses in the area. However, it has a very loyal group of users, especially older lady players. And it is also popular with dog walkers. The Approach 18-hole par 3 pitch and putt, and a very important part of the open visual landscape for Central Bath. It has several public rights of way across it and is well used by a variety of groups in addition to golfers, including dog walkers. The Approach 12 par 3 pitch and putt is also an important part of the landscape that makes Bath special. What is certain is that with our financial situation as it is, and with the cuts we are making, we cannot continue to subsidise the current model of operation at Entry Hill and Approach. The losses at Entry Hill are well advertised through the consultation and run in excess of 80k per annum. The losses at Approach are less well known, and as you saw from tonight's speakers, subject to different interpretations. But the last 3 years have been a 40.7k loss, a 29.6k loss, and a 31.9k loss. This is when all costs are taken into consideration. Whatever else, it is not right for the taxpayers of Baines that public money has continued to support the current model of operation at these 2 sites. We have detailed proposals on new ways of working and new ideas for the use of these sites, ranging from golf to disc golf to cycling to sculpture park to allotments to forest schools. And we've had different offers for different parts of the offer. The proposals have different levels of detail in them and so are difficult to compare easily. Indeed, some are just outline ideas. Awarding a contract to one of these proposals or making a decision on the future of any site at this stage would not be a fair and equitable approach and would not meet the council's procurement regulations. It would also, I have to say, almost certainly lead to legal challenge, putting further delay into the process. So in fact, the proposals are evolving over time, and as they start to consider how other ideas can complement their key proposals. So we're already seeing the first start of people with different lead parts of the scheme, considering other aspects of it to see how they can make their proposals best fit the overall strategy. And I'm sure that they've all been listening to this debate on the web today, if they're interested. As a result of this, the council has concluded that an open procurement process that is evaluated against the same criteria that were used during the consultation process, as well as taking into account results of the consultation, is the most appropriate way forward at this time. And can I assure you that when we put out the consultation, that does mean that we will be starting on any possible new provider that will be consulted with all residents, so that therefore those people around the approach who feel that there's been a deficit in consultation will get that in the future. But I can just remind you that the 18 hole is not for change of use, and we do have at least one operator that has put forward a significant proposal on the approach 18. To be fair to all the bidding parties and the various users of the site, we will hold this exercise as speedily as is possible under procurement rules, because we just can't let the uncertainty go on. So we will be doing this as quickly as we're possible can be done within government, local government regulations. I therefore move the recommendation as printed so that this cabinet agrees to go forward to a tender process for options on approach 18, approach 12 and Entry Hill. Thank you very much. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley, and also thank you to all of those that came today to make a statement on the future of Entry Hill and approach golf courses, and also to everyone who took part in the consultation. So as Councillor Crossley has said, there will be a further report on legislative provision. This will come to Cabinet in September, but we felt that it was important that the future of these golf courses was moved on to the next stage as soon as possible, and that's why this part of the leisure provision has been presented to this Cabinet meeting. As I'm sure you would hope and expect, Cabinet has listened to all the views that have been put forward today and throughout the consultation, and this will inform the process going forward, and therefore I'm very happy to second the proposal that we actually move on to the next stage. I'd now like to open up the debate to the rest of Cabinet. Right. See if I've got any speakers. Councillor Warren.
Hello, thank you, Councillor Crossley, and thank you to the officers for all the work that you've put into this piece of work so far. It's been a very thorough consultation so far and has opened up lots of interesting proposals. I just wondered whether, so we are voting, I think, to delegate to the director in conjunction with to the Cabinet members to take decisions. I just wondered whether the Cabinet will be able to have any further input into the decision.
Councillor Crossley, would you like to come back?
Entry Hill and approach course is part of my presentation to Cabinet just about every week, Sarah. So you will have every week when we meet informally to put in lots of input into it. And certainly that input is always welcome and helps us reach sound conclusions.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have any other speakers on this item? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley, for all your hard work on this. It's quite clear that it's been raised very many issues. I guess what Councillor Warren was trying to understand is whether this will actually come back and be a Cabinet decision or whether it will be delegated powers.
It's a delegated decision to officers with me and Richard, but as you well know, there will be plenty of discussions with both at Cabinet and at other opportunities. So there will be plenty of time for debates going forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Guy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Paul's just kind of clarified that. So I'm assuming that when we vote now for delegated powers, the officer will go out some sort of tender process. yourself and Councillor Samuels will be part of that tender process, and you'll be keeping the rest of the cabinet informed as you go along with that process. That's correct, Paul?
Yes.
Brilliant. And there's 2 points I picked up, Chair, from listening to the speakers, and it kind of correlates with what Councillor Crossley has told us informally, is that there's 2 prongs to this. There's one about listening to the community and ensuring that their views and opinions are taken fully into account with any decision that we make, which is crucial to us being open and transparent. And there's a second crucial point, which is the ongoing costs of the site, which clearly we can't continue to run it at a loss. So any decision that's being made will have to take those 2 points into hand. And that's correct, Councillor Crossley, yes?
That's correct.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Guy. I now ask Councillor Timball to speak.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Can I thank Paul and his officers for the hard work they've done so far on bringing this forward to Cabinet. I do pick up some concerns raised by the Cabinet members just now that this will be a delegated decision to officers. And I would like Paul to very carefully whether it should come back to Cabinet eventually before a final decision is taken, because of the public interest shown today. And what I don't want to see happening is any opportunity people to say we haven't considered it openly in the public arena. I do accept your rationale, thanks, Crossley, but I'm actually thinking it's maybe better as a final decision at Cabinet.
What is needed here is a speedy resolution. So that'll be something I take up with Dina offline separately, I think, Tim. But at the moment, it's not an officer decision, it's an officer decision with 2 members of the Cabinet. And
in that case, I'll accept that. No problem. Okay.
And as I said, it's something that I put in my weekly report to all of you. So there's a chance every single week for updates and debate and engagement.
Thank you. I've got 3 more speakers. So I have Councillor Wood, and then I'll bring Councillor Samuel in after that. Councillor Wood.
Thanks, Paul, for running a process that's not only open, but genuinely open-minded too. As others have said, there's been a lot of engagement, a great deal of passion, and a lot of great ideas that have come out of this process. It's actually, I think, in my view, a great example of a council consultation that is genuinely a consultation. You're proving now that we are a listening council, and not only that, but a council that takes the climate emergency, the ecological emergency, and the financial emergency seriously. So thank you very much. I would agree with the others. Cherry on top of that would be transparency, so that people can see exactly how this decision is made.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wood. Councillor Samuel.
Thank you, Dina. Just to clarify what I think will happen, once we agree to the recommendations in the report to commence a tendering process, what will then happen at the conclusion of that is that the officers will produce a tender report which analyses the results of the tenders, the proposals, evaluates them, gives appropriate weighting to the different types of proposal and so on. It is after that stage that I envisage Councillor Crossley and myself would be consulted on the outcome of that tender process. And I think, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure Paul Crossley would probably agree, if we had any concerns about the delegation to the Director of Environment appointing a contractor at that point, we would probably bring that back to the Cabinet if that was the eventual outcome. So I think we have to go to the next stage because we can't conclude this matter until we do. But I think there are sufficient safeguards in there to give members of the Cabinet assurance. So I support it going forward at this point because I think there are sufficient future safeguards in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samuel. And then I think the last speaker that I have on this item is Councillor Appleyard.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any particular issue with the process. In fact, I fully support the process. But just within that process, I think Councillor Crossley mentioned the stress and the pressures that people have experienced while they've been locked down with the COVID carrying on, and to a certain extent, those constraints are going to be with us for some while. One of the natural elements will happen within our budget, and that will come on later on, is areas as prevention are easy targets to park while we concentrate on other areas. But I think what's COVID shown us is that areas such as obesity and those related sort of challenges have played a major part in how people have been affected with COVID. So within the process of deciding what happens with these particular areas, can I ask that there is a certain amount of weight given to the mass participation side of it, so it's not focused to a too narrow group of people, so we can actually get as much activity opportunities within that as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Appleyard. I don't see if there's any more people to speak, so Councillor Crossley, would you like to sum up, please?
Right, thank you very much. Yes, I'm glad you all support going to the next stage. The next stage is not a final answer, which is actually not going to please a lot of our listeners out there who've been wanting a final answer. And as I said in my speech, we are not able to give a final answer at the moment because of different stages that the bids have got. But can I assure Cabinet that what we do have is a variety of interesting bids that all start to look at properly how they wash their own faces and keep their own way, keep their own support going. And I do appreciate that people want to know how the final decision would be made. In the end, that is a decision for our leader to work out how she wants to do it. At the moment, it is a decision that will be made by Richard Samuel and myself, but there will be, I can assure you, regular updates on what they're going. I'm sure my inbox will continue to flourish with emails on this subject over the coming weeks as people lobby for their own preferred outcome and get involved in that. And finally, just the only point of disagreement I have is with Rob. Golf is not a mass participation sport, so the mass participation events will be elsewhere, but not on these sites. This is a place where family groups and individuals and groups of friends go around. Golf, at least not any version of golf I've seen, is a mass participation sport, other than the fact that they might have a lot of people going out one after the other if it is a competition day. And we don't have international competition, so I don't think we need to worry about spectators for golf. So in summing up, I hope you, thank you very much for your support, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of debate going forward, and you'll be getting a lot of emails going forward on people's preferred outcome, because this is something that is generating a lot of passion on all sides of the debate. And if I could just summarize, just for our listeners out there, there is no preordained outcome to this process. We have not made a decision on the future uses of any of these three sites. The only nearest we've come is in section 1.4, where we said it is intended to retain the 18-hole golf course at approach. Everything else we are looking at and will be subject to the tender proposals we get. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So we will now move to the vote. The recommendations are as set out. So that's recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 and 2.4. So what I will do now is I will call you all in turn, hopefully alphabetically, and ask whether you are for or against the motion as it is been set out before you. So I'd like to ask Councillor Appleyard if you are for or against the motion.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Butters?
For.
Councillor Crossley?
For.
Councillor Ball?
For.
You will already spotted that I've lost the ability to do the alphabet. Councillor Guy?
For.
Councillor Samuel?
For.
Councillor Warren?
For.
Councillor Wright?
For.
Councillor Romero? For. Have I missed any councillors out? Has anybody not voted? In that case, I believe that vote has been Councillor Wood. I apologise, Dave. Councillor Wood.
Okay, I am for.
Thank you. I'm going to have to write a list down so that I call you all in the right order in future as well. So thank you. I believe that voted, that motion has been carried unanimously. I'll just ask Jack if he could just confirm that.
That is correct, Madam Chairman. It's unanimous for.
Thank you. What I'd now like to do is I'd now like to have a 5-minute break because we have been in this meeting for over an hour and a half. Many of us are sitting in quite warm rooms. And so if that is possible, I'd like to start that now. If you can turn your videos off and your mics off, but leave the meeting running. Thank you. And so we'll reconvene just after 1:45. Thank you, everybody. So I'm just going to wait another moment or two. I think we're still missing a couple of cabinet members. And then we will restart the meeting on the next item, which is item 12, around the Bath Clean Air Plan grant settlement. So just waiting for, I think I'm just waiting for,
I'm here.
I can see that, Rob. Okay, so I'm now just waiting for 3 more cabinet members.
Cool, Tesco's do a nice bit of stilt on an apricot.
Thank you for sharing that, Rob.
It's very posh family, that part of Bath.
Thank you, Jim.
The apricot bit, Rob.
One of my 5 a day.
Okay, can I just point out that I believe, are we still live? So this is still a live meeting.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you. Right, I think we are all here again. Well, I think we are sufficiently here to make a start on the next part of the meeting. And so welcome back, everybody. And I'd now like to invite Councillor Sarah Warren to introduce the Bath Clean Air Plan grant settlement. I assume, actually, I'll just double check before you do so, Councillor Warren. Jack, there's no ad hoc speakers that wanted that have alerted you to wanted to speak on any of these items. Are there?
No, there is not. There are no ad hoc speakers.
Thank you. In that case then, without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Councillor Sarah Warren.
Thank you, Chair. It's my pleasure to introduce this paper on the grant settlement in relation to Bath's clean air zone. As you know, poor air quality is one of the most significant threats to public health in the UK, and Bath is under a legal imperative to bring in a clean air zone, introducing a daily charge for the most polluting vans, buses, taxis and HGVs entering the city centre to reduce illegal levels of nitrogen dioxide pollution. In the last 4 months, we've seen a significant and welcome reduction in nitrogen dioxide around the city, accompanying the reduction in traffic due to coronavirus lockdown. However, traffic levels are unfortunately now returning to more usual levels, and with them pollution. We received written confirmation last week from ministers that we must therefore go ahead and implement the clean air zone as per the full business case submitted to the Joint Air Quality Unit earlier this year. We were asked by government to defer our original start date of November this year to early 2021 due to coronavirus, and we are on track to deliver in time for this new deadline. No specific date has yet been agreed with government. As soon as we have an agreed date, we will inform the public and run an extensive media and communication programme running up to go live to ensure everyone who needs to know is aware. Over the past few months, we have been in negotiation with government challenging the initial funding offer for the clean air zone, which fell significantly short of our original request. Government has now agreed to provide up to £15.5 million to implement the scheme and support affected businesses, bringing the total funding package to £23.5 million. Having already completed much of the build and revisited our financial models, we feel confident that this will be sufficient. We are still negotiating with government around the costs of running the central service to operate the zone. Since the start of lockdown, we've been talking to a wide range of businesses and trade associations to understand the impact the pandemic has had on them and how they see the road to recovery unfolding. And we have been considering how we might improve our support package for them while still achieving our air quality objective. We have now amended the terms of our financial assistance scheme to provide further help in the form of additional flexibility for businesses applying for grants and interest-free finance to upgrade polluting vehicles. Temporary exemptions will also be granted to businesses that have placed orders for fully electric vehicles and are waiting for them to be delivered. As a Cabinet, we remain committed to innovation to improve air quality for the health of all residents and visitors to the city, whilst being mindful of the need to balance this imperative with the social and economic impact on businesses affected by the pandemic. I believe the proposal before you today achieves this balance. I move the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. May I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Joanna Wright.
The issue of poor air quality generated by polluting vans, buses, taxis and HGVs has a significant impact upon public health. As we have all learned in the past few months, our health is our wealth, and our wealth is our health. To support public health, this council is working diligently to implement a clean air zone as quickly as possible in 2021. This settlement takes us forward to making sure that the air we all breathe in the city of Bath is healthier, which is essential for life. As outlined by Councillor Warren, the council has been mindful of the need to balance clean air with the social and economic impact on businesses affected by the pandemic. I am therefore happy to second this proposal for the grant settlement for Bath's clean air zone.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I'm now going to open up this item for discussion. I have Councillor Samuel who would like to speak, followed by Councillor Timbrell.
Thank you, Leader. Well, it's almost 3 years to the day since I moved the motion to Council calling for a clean air zone to be introduced in Bath. So I'm very pleased that we're pretty well now at the starting point. Councillor Warren referred to the clean air zone on the cheap that the government was proposing. And I'm very glad that the work we put in as a cabinet and our senior officers has pushed back against the government and made sure that we can have a clean air zone that will work effectively and isn't cheap clean air on the cheap. So I think we're pretty well there. I'll be very pleased when we hear the announcement of the date, and it can't come soon enough, I think. This is a really important step for the city of Bath. Air pollution, and particularly nitrogen dioxide pollution, has been far too high for far too long, and it's time that action was taken to deal with it. So I'm very pleased to support this report. At least there's a financial deal now that we can all live with, and that I think will deliver the results that we all want to see. So well done for all of those involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samuel. Councillor Ball?
Yes, I think I'll probably echo what Richard's just said then. Thanks to everybody who's actually been involved in this. I've always been a cautious skeptic of clean air zones all the way through. But what's convinced me finally now to actually come fully on board with this was when we went into lockdown 4 months ago and the clean air was out there. I cycle quite a bit, as you may know. I was able to cycle in town, able to breathe going in and coming back using the main roads. I went out last week and was choking again in the actual dirty air being produced by the vehicles out there. My daughter came to visit me this morning, who lives in Winsley now, used to live in Bath. She had lots of asthma while she's in Bath. Gone to Winsley, no asthma. Come back in this morning, Bath Victoria's Lobister Road. I've had to use her inhaler for the first time in quite a while. It shows how dirty our air actually is. And if adults are feeling this effect, think of what's happened to children out there. We need this rapidly. We need as fast as we possibly can. We look at the actual nature out there, what's been thriving the last 4 months. I've never seen so many bees around. The pollen is high all over the place. How much has been damped down by pollution over the years and actually affected the wildlife and insects out there? Again, thanks very much to everybody who's actually been involved in this work. I'm fully on board now and will be happy to support.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Let me see if there's any other speakers who wish to make a comment at this moment. I'm not seeing anybody else who wants to raise any points. In that case, then, Councillor Warren, I move to you to sum up.
Well, I'd just like to thank all the hard work of all the officers and my councillor colleagues who've been involved so far, and to move the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. And so just to clarify, that's recommendations 2.1 through to 2.6, and we will now move on with the voting. And I did make a note of the order I would, there it is. Okay, so I would now call on each to indicate whether you are voting for or against the proposal. So, Councillor Appleyard.
For the proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Ball.
For.
Councillor Butters.
For.
Councillor Crossley.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Guy.
For.
Councillor Romero. For. Councillor Samuel.
For.
Councillor Wood.
For.
Councillor Warren.
For.
And Councillor Wright.
For.
I believe that's carried unanimously.
That's correct, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is an update on the corporate strategy. I don't believe we have any ad hoc contributions that we've been alerted to. Thank you. Okay, so I will now like to start my opening comments on this. So, as you may remember, in February 2020, we adopted a 4-year corporate strategy. So we had an overriding purpose, which was to improve people's lives. We had 2 key policies that went with this. So one was around addressing the climate emergency, and the second was giving people a bigger say. And underpinning this, we had 3 principles. One which was preparing for the future, the second would be delivering for residents, and the third was a focus on prevention. Now, pretty much within 2 or 3 weeks of adopting this strategy, suddenly we were hit with the coronavirus. And this obviously put a huge amount of pressure on staff, on our services, and on finances. However, it has also given us the opportunity to rethink perhaps how some services are delivered, to work better with our partners, and to bring forward plans. The council now has 2 work streams around reopening, renewal, and resilience, and this also focuses our work around the new normal and also around the uncertainties of the future. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to highlight some of the areas of concern, such as how reliant this council has been on tourism and on travel, and of the inequalities in access to services across the area. And the work on recovery actually now gives us an opportunity to reconsider how we make changes that will help tackle inequality and also to help address climate emergency. Lockdown has allowed us to speed up adoption of new technology and new ways of communication. We can now do, and we do hold live meetings remotely. I host regular webinars on a variety of issues, everything from slavery to the council's finances. This week's webinar was aimed at the hospitality sector, offering guidance and advice on reopening safely, along with the implications of the new legislation. Next week, I'll be discussing livable neighbourhoods with Councillors Warren and Councillors Wright, and also along with key council officers. Other innovations include a new weekly e-news, and this now goes to 50,000 email addresses. But obviously, this is, we need to continue with our online and digital engagement, but we also need to take note that there are many residents who are not online and make sure they have access to updated information. So we're making more of our links with local news providers, especially with radio and television. We continue to prepare for the future, whatever that may look like, and we remain committed to net zero carbon by 2030. Partnership working has proven to be a real lifeline for many of our residents, as demonstrated by the success of the Compassionate Communities Hub. Partnership working and engagement has been invaluable with key stakeholders during the most intense period of the pandemic. The stakeholder group that I chair is being reshaped as the Local Outbreak Engagement Partnership Board, a necessary board to accompany the Health Protection Board and to deliver the Local Outbreak Management Plan if and when that is needed. The Engagement Board has representation on it from a wide range of bodies, including the police, fire and rescue, both universities, as well as our health providers. We also have set up an Economic Recovery and Renewal Board as a tool to drive and to influence business recovery. So this should not be solely about survival, but it, I hope, will be a way of reconsidering and reinventing what business does, especially as it gives more options to be more green and to be more sustainable. So to end my opening remarks, I would like to ensure all that we continue to work to make sure that the Council has solid foundations of good governance and clear lines of corporate control and oversight. And we will and do take all the opportunities that are presented to us to make the most of what we can deliver in our services to residents. So I'd now like to ask, I'd now like to move the recommendations before you on the paper, and I'd also like to ask if anybody would like to second my proposal.
I would happily second that proposal, Chair.
Thank you. I was looking at Richard, but obviously Richard was having a moment. So thank you. Thank you, Councillor Guy. I'd like to ask if there's anybody who would like to speak. Councillor Samuel.
Well, maybe I was having a moment, I don't know. Confused. Yes, I'm very pleased to see this report here. Despite the impact COVID has had on all of our communities, I think it's really important that the momentum that we set out earlier is maintained. And I'm very pleased in this report to see the proposed work plan. The whole COVID situation has had a massive implication for the Council in terms of the way it works, the greater use of technology, more home working, less travelling to work, and this impact will not go away. And one of my portfolio jobs over the next few years will be to see how we can take this further and embed this within the Council's working practices. There is going to be a huge challenge in the finance and property portfolio, as all members will know. The terrific pressure that COVID has produced on our finances will be well known and understood. I won't repeat those, but in the coming months, we will be producing a new medium-term financial strategy and a budget for next year. And both of those two pieces of work will look ahead to as far as 2024 in terms of the impact on the Council's finances and how we manage those. So there's plenty to do, and I'm very pleased to see this report that marks in some ways looking backwards at what happened with COVID and now looking forward for the remaining time that we have in office to complete the commitments we gave to the public. So I'm very pleased to see the report and I'll be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Samuel. Can I invite the rest of Cabinet who might want to make some comments? Councillor Wood, please.
Get myself off mute. Just wanted to bring a few things to the fore in the waste services section of this report. I wanted to welcome the reopening of the Bath Recycling Centre last weekend. and I'm pleased that we'll be open for 7 days a week again from Monday. Our Don't Be a Tosser Litter campaign has been very well received across Bath and North East Somerset, and our cleansing officers have been supported by some amazing volunteers from all across the district, particularly at this time where litter is a problem in many places. I'm also very pleased to see within this document due priority for tree planting and action on fly tipping as priorities for this year.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Do I have any other speakers? Councillor Appleyard.
Yeah, thank you, Chair or Leader. Yeah, I think you mentioned it in your report, and I just really want to just focus on the community and the way people have come together. There's no doubt about it that about 15 months ago we started a conversation about how our third sector group, which is people like the CAB, Mind, and Citizen Advice Bureau and things like that, could come together and provide support to the community. When the pandemic hit in, very quickly, and I say quickly, we literally within weeks, we had a very cohesive group of people working together, providing support to our community. Now that actually also supported lots of activity that were happening out in various pockets of our community, over in Keynsham and Midsummer Norton, things like that, where groups have come together and were really looking after their close neighbours. And that was important because that all fed together, because not only did the local groups provide initial and valuable support to those people, but they quickly hooked into the larger Compassionate Communities Hub and picked up the additional challenges that some of these individuals were facing, because some people were struggling on many fronts. So that was quite good. It's quite right and it's quite proper that we celebrated our National Health Service in terms of the work being done at the hospital and everything like this. But while that was going on, we also had a large cohort of our residents that were in need of their general care that was being delivered on a daily basis. And that's where Virgin Care stepped up. So while all was happening on, besides their involvement and very strong support for the Compassionate Community Hub, they were carrying on and finding innovative ways into which to reach those people that were in need of care. And there's been some adaptations the way they've done that with technology and some in areas like that, and some of that will actually carry on to the future. So like all these things, there's always positives that come out of it and everything like this. So I just really wanted to highlight that element of it and just pay testament to the wider community and those organizations that have actually naturally blended together to actually make this experience as less painful as it could be.
Thank you, Councillor Appleyard. Yes, I echo your comments. Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Leader. I was to update you really on the progress we've made around climate emergency since the corporate plan was agreed. We'd already at that time visited all the community forums in North East Somerset as a form of public engagement, and we were planning a big public event at the Guildhall, but unfortunately coronavirus struck before we could even go public that we were about to do that. And so since then, really, we've been trying to work out, of course, everything was thrown into chaos for a certain amount of time in terms of responding to the emergency, which set us back a little. But since April, we have been gradually learning how to get to grips with the new technology. And we've been running webinars, which initially have been, I take on board the feedback we had earlier that some of the online engagement could have been, more easier to access and more easier to engage with. But I would say that we are on a learning curve, and we've been, webinars are a new thing for us, and we've been doing that. And as time goes on, I'm sure we'll get to learn how to do more ambitious and more two-way engagement through this medium, and it will become easier, I think, for people to engage. But certainly we remain keen to hear from the public and encourage them to contact us by whatever means works best for them. So public engagement is ongoing, and we had the setback of coronavirus, but we are continuing with that. And then in the meantime, in terms of addressing the climate emergency, of course, we've had discussion this week of our paper on low traffic neighbourhoods at the scrutiny panel. I've updated you today on progress on the clean air zone. And meanwhile, there's work going on behind the scenes to bring the local plan in line with the climate emergency. So there's a lot of work going on. And our focus, I think, going forward probably will be around trying to make sure that the recovery of the economic recovery and the recovery of the community is in line with, in line with the climate emergency, in line with the ideas of having a green renewal. So I think those are the areas we'll be working hard on. New area really that we'll be working hard on going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to update you on some housing issues, and as part of the COVID issues, this council actually managed to help 69 individual rough sleepers into accommodation. The council actually housed 42 themselves in temporary accommodation during the course of the actual epidemic, and it's still continuing now. We're still housing them. The council will still continue for further 6 months at least to actually ensure these rough sleepers have accommodation to live in, and we continue with assistance to enable them to transition into supported housing accommodation or permanent accommodation. So they're not being turned back on the streets, they will be assisted all the way through. Last year, in another aspect of housing, the council extended housing multi-occupation HMO licensing requirements to include all shared houses City of Bath, regardless of size. Just to give you a few issues of how that's actually helped across the issue. So far, around 2,300 HMOs have been licensed in the district. In addition, the council has also taken formal action on a number of identified substandard properties, including issuing 50 formal warning letters, 6 cautions and 2 financial penalties on landlords who are not keeping their properties at the standard. We are actually taking some action to bring this market into line. On the homeless situation, the council has enhanced its positive work preventing homelessness, particularly involving working with private sector. As a result, the council has maintained its very low use of temporary accommodation. At the time of writing, the rate of temporary accommodation usage was only a tenth of the national average, so we're having quite a bit of success there. We're also hoping to actually bring some in-house accommodation back in, which lessens the budget on the council and council resources. Social and council housing. Last year, the council secured the delivery of 329 units of affordable housing, the highest annual delivery in many years. In addition, there are further 428 with planning consent away to be built. The council looking to further enhance delivery of direct provision of council housing, including discounted market housing for rent and supported housing schemes to assist our most vulnerable residents. So we are actually taking action to ensure the most vulnerable members of our community are actually looked after, have suitable housing and housing of a decent standard.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. I'm looking to see if there's any other speakers. Councillor Wright.
Hi, just to update on the transport services. So again, yeah, we fully support the actions over the next coming year. Particularly this week, we were successful in putting through our low traffic neighbourhoods residence parking zone and electric charging vehicles documents that have been working on for the last year through to scrutiny, and we hope to consult on this over the summer months so that we can take this piece of work forward, which again was an election pledge. We've been working very hard to put in place various pieces of strategy and ideas of working about how to promote Bath Delivery Action Plan, a Bath to Bristol mass transit, and the Wiltshire Whippet, again, which are pieces of work that we're working over the next year. We will continue to put in place the Transport Improvement Plan and deliver those projects. Through the last few months, we have had to work very hard to deliver funding from government through the Department for Transport, for DFT, for tranche 1, which we have put into the city across Bath and also in Keynsham. We're looking to put in a tranche 2 bid and hope to know of the successful outcome of that later on this year. And again, we will have to implement that by March 2021. So there are many threads that the transport brief has had to deliver because of COVID-19 and also around COVID-19, and we continue to work towards the aims. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else who wants to speak. In that case, then, just to sum up, you know, and I think Councillor Samuel was absolutely right to remind us all about the pressure on our finances, you know, and that has changed how we operate. It's also changed perhaps how we deliver some of our priorities, but we've, I think, taken the opportunity to see how we can deliver things differently. And I think a good example of this is on the webinars. So I know Councillor Warren has been able to have a series of webinars on climate emergency and on related subjects. And I think, you know, it does demonstrate, you know, one of the things we had wanted to do, which was properly engage with our communities over a wide range of subjects. It also has meant that we've been able to do something really meaningful about tackling homelessness and being able to put people perhaps in a better place and give people that signposting to supporting services. Obviously, you know, many of these things have been aided by specific funding that has come from government, and obviously for which we do thank government. You know, reopening our services, again, some of this has been aided by the way that our finances have worked out, but so much of this is absolutely dependent on our staff and on their commitment. And I think we should say thank you to them for, in many cases, going above and beyond in order to keep services running. And I would say one of those key service areas is in household waste and recycling. You know, I think there's been very few instances where curbside collections have you know, not been maintained. Yes, of course, there's been a few hiccups, but generally I would say our services have kept running. And I think that actually sort of reflects the work that as a council, we haven't stopped during this pandemic. Yes, we've had to do things differently, and we've had to, you know, maybe change the things that we wanted to do first, but things have been kept going. Some services, you know, by the nature of what they are, have had to stop. Obviously, library services and our many of our heritage services. But you know, we've started that process of coming back. You know, but it does now become part of the new normal. And I think, as Sarah Warren said, you know, we are learning all the time. And we're learning how to do things differently. We're learning how we can do things better. We're also, I think, being more mindful about those opportunities to reconsider, you know, how to deliver things in a different way that actually builds on local strengths, but also hopefully addresses and reduces those inequalities that we know are across our whole area. So on that note, I think I will stop and I will move to the vote. So I will now call you again in alphabetical order to find out if you wish to support or not the proposal before you. So we have, I'll call Councillor Appleyard first.
Yes, I support it. 4.
Thank you. Councillor Ball.
4.
Councillor Butters,
For.
Councillor Crossley,
For.
thank you. Councillor Guy, yes, Councillor Guy.
For.
Councillor Romero, for. Councillor Samuel.
For.
Councillor Wood.
For.
Councillor Warren.
For.
Councillor Wright.
For.
Thank you. I believe that this is another unanimous vote. I'm just checking with Jack.
That is correct, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, so we're now on to item 14, which is the Treasury Management Outturn Report for 2019 to 20. So I'd like to invite Councillor Samuel to speak, unless there are any ad hoc contributions.
There are none.
Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Samuel.
Thank you, Leader. This is a report that will also appear on the council agenda tomorrow in exactly the same form. It is the annual report on the council's treasury management that's been mandated for a number of years now. The council measures its treasury management performance against a set of indicators. Those are set out in Appendix 1 to your report. And within the report, there are a number of pieces of information which I won't refer to in any detail, such as the Arlington Close Economic Market Review, a guide to credit ratings and the like. The key things in the report are that, which is for noting, are that we are performing above benchmark in terms of returns on investment, and that's very encouraging, and that's an improvement on the position that we inherited in from 2018-19. And that's largely due to an investment that was made in 2019-20 in a local authority property fund, which has proved very positive. Borrowing remains below the below the the capital financing requirements. That's what I was struggling for there. And borrowing has remained relatively stable over the last year. And in fact, in the last quarter, we didn't borrow any money at all to finance capital expenditure. A number of things happened during the year that are worth of note. In paragraph 313, members should note that we have reviewed our current investment holdings in relation to investments in fossil fuel related companies. And although we do not now directly invest in any of those companies, there are two funds, which is noted in the report, where there is some direct investment in fossil fuel activity, fossil fuel depletion activity, but that is very low, between 4 and 8%. However, we will still be keeping this under review so that we can keep this in line with our climate change aspirations, and it would be very nice to be giving this report next year with 0 fossil fuel investment, if that is possible. So that's something we'll continue to look at. The other big piece of information that affected us last year was the fairly arbitrary decision at short notice by the Public Works Loans Board to hike interest rates on Public Works Loan Board rates. And the government is currently reviewing that position and consulting on it, but it's not clear what will happen to that in the future. And it is said that the reason the government did this was that many local authorities were investing in commercial property to drive up their incomes, and were using Public Works Loan Board's borrowing to fund that. This is slightly ironic now in the light of events this year, that and this is still a contested issue, really. I won't make too much reference to the outturn from last year because that's covered in the next report on the agenda, but that's had a positive impact on the position. So really, Chairman, this is a positive report. It shows that the management of the council's finances is stable and well run. And I would particularly like to thank Andy Rothery and his staff for the presentation of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samuel. I now call on someone to second. I'm looking at Councillor Guy.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'd love to second this this promotion by the councillor there. It's an excellent piece of work. Everybody that's read it can see the amount of hard work that's been put into the detail of it. Councillor Samuels and his team have done an exceptionally good job, and they should be commended for that. We've had a ridiculously challenging year this year. Obviously, containing the virus within Bath and North East Somerset has been a priority for the council, and obviously avoiding a second wave is also a priority. But this sound and sensible and excellent financial management by Councillor Samuels and his team is going to allow us to look forward and commit ourselves to the strong pledges we made when we got elected last year. And I hope with this continued excellent management of our finances that we are able to go back to our commitments that we made a year and fulfill on those moving forward. So I'm happy to second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Guy. I have Councillor Warren followed by Councillor Ball. Councillor Warren, please.
Hello, thank you, Councillor Samuel. Really appreciate this report, and in particular, I just wanted to say how pleased I am with the progress that's being made towards disinvesting the Treasury Management Fund from fossil fuels, and just encourage everyone to keep up the progress in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ball.
Yes, also I'd like to thank Andrew Rothery and his team for the excellent performance and all council officers across all areas as well. When we took office last year, we looked at the budget that we inherited with the Conservatives. Everything was showing an overspend during that course of the year. And we worked extremely hard with officers to make sure we actually brought in the budget on level terms. I'm really pleased with my officers in the housing, planning and economic departments who come in nearly £500,000 under budget in their spending. Excellent results, still delivering the services, in fact, actually delivering enhanced services. So it proves what we can do when we settle down to work as a team together. I'm afraid the Conservatives in the last administration left us a real smoking mirrors budget of where they were expected to make savings to. We found them and we actually delivered.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. I'm just going to check on my next screen if there's anybody else who wishes to speak on this item. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else who wants to speak. So, Councillor Samuel, would you like to sum up?
There's nothing to add, Leader, to what's been said, and I'll move the recommendations in 2.1, 2.2 to note the two items there in the report.
Okay, I think what we'll do, I know that we have a mechanism for noting, but what I will do this time is I will actually just go through and just check that everybody does agree with this report, as I think we've got several systems in play at the moment. So, Councillor Appleyard, would you like to support this motion?
I most certainly will. Thank you very much.
Councillor Ball.
I can follow that. 4.
Thank you. Councillor Butters.
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Crossley.
Support.
Councillor Guy.
I support it, but clearly not as jollily as Councillor Appleyard has supported it.
It's not a competition. Councillor Romero, yes, I support it too. Councillor Samuel.
4.
Councillor Wood.
4.
Councillor Warren.
4.
Councillor Wright.
4.
Thank you. I believe that that is carried unanimously.
That is correct, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, so we're sticking with Councillor Samuel as we move into item 15, which is the revenue and capital outturn for 2019-20. Are there any ad hoc contributions? Sorry.
None,
Just
Madam
checking. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Samuel.
Thank you, Leader. This is a very important report, really, because it marks the end of year position for the first financial year of this current administration. And as Councillor Ball referred to a moment ago, we inherited a fairly ropey position at the end of the budget year 2018-19. And when you gave me the role that I'm doing at the moment, one of the things that I set as a target was that we should balance the books every year if we could. And this was the first year. And as you can see from the report, we brought the budget in actually under budget, just around $250,000 under budget. And that is the first time the council has done that for a number of years. So this is a really positive report. An enormous amount of effort goes into that type of work. It's very difficult to navigate a council budget with all the different pressures on services and bring it in absolutely on the nose at the end of the year. And it's a tremendous tribute to directors and cabinet members to achieve just that. And why is that important? Well, it's important because if you overspend and you overcommit your budgets, or you don't manage your money properly, it has to come from somewhere, and it comes from reserves if you are overspending. So that's not a desirable position remotely. So last year was very positive. The under budget position set out in the report of 0.12 million, that is carried into reserves, which, as we know, we're going to need this year. But also some money has been used to carry forward proposals that were current in year pressures. So, for example, the Community Empowerment Fund, which many ward councillors are using in their wards, work on business and skills. And Councillor Ball will be pleased to see that his work on spatial planning will be supported by some of the underspend from last year. And that's good budget management, because we didn't know at the office that there would be the problems with the joint spatial plan that emerged, but this now enables the work that's got to be done to be funded properly. So that's good financial management. Within the report, there are some environments sought, and you're going to be asked to approve those. There is a statement on the reserves position, which a number of members do ask for from time to time, and a statement about the use of flexible capital receipts. This is receipts which can be used to deal with redundancies and things like that, restructuring, where there is an efficiency produced and a reduction in spending. There's also information about the outturn position of the capital programme, which was again below what was expected at the beginning of the year. So this is overall, this is a tremendously good report. I am really indebted to the finance team, particularly who have worked really closely with each service to bring these budgets in overall in the position that we find. So, Chairman, with that, I move the recommendations that are set out in report at paragraphs 2.1 to 2.8 and commend it to you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Butters, did you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to say congratulations to all involved, especially, of course, Councillor Samuel and Andy Rothery, for the improved position, given the very challenging circumstances we have been facing So thank you very much. It was a great achievement.
Thank you, Councillor Butters. Do I have any other speakers on for this report? Okay. Well, in that case then, Councillor Samuel, I believe you can sum up if you wish.
No, nothing to add to what I've already said, Leader. So happy to move to the vote.
Okay, that's fantastic. Right, I shall call you all in order and ask you to either vote for or against, and hopefully not give a long, lengthy speech. Councillor Appleyard.
I support this.
Thank you. Councillor Ball.
I support this also.
And me.
Councillor Butters.
And me. I support.
Councillor Crossley.
For.
Councillor Guy.
For.
Councillor Romero. For. Councillor Samuel.
For.
Councillor Wood.
For.
Councillor Warren.
For.
Councillor Wright.
For.
I believe that is unanimous.
That is correct, Madam Chairman. Unanimous.
Thank you. Okay, we're now moving on. I think this is the last item, which is the revenue and capital budget monitoring cash limits and environments from April 2020 to June 2020. I'm just going to check, are there any ad hoc contributions?
No, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. In which case, Councillor Samuel.
Thank you, Leader. So this is the final report on our agenda today, and it covers the first quarter of the expenditure for 2020-21 current financial year. And of course, it's very different to the sort of report that we would normally expect to receive at this time of year. And that's because of the coronavirus crisis, which is laid out in detail the impact on the council's services, and in particular the expected projected year-end figure at the moment. I think the important thing to emphasize in this report is that it is not a sterile piece of work that just sits there and says there's a big problem to be fixed. As we all know, we have already approved a financial recovery plan a few weeks ago, and although the position set out in this report is very worrying, it is something that we are dealing with and we expect to deal with. The position and the projected position through the year will undoubtedly change. It will change as the government provides extra assistance. And today I've heard that Robert Jenrick is now talking about support for losses of council tax and business rate income. That's the first time I've heard that. And we continue to place pressure on the government to provide full compensation for commercial income losses and leisure losses. The two areas of big importance to this council that they have not funded so far. We haven't received information yet about the compensation grant scheme for losses of income, but we do hope that when we get that and we calculate its benefit to the council, there will be an improvement in these figures. So it is a very dynamic process, and I agreed fairly early on with Andy Rothery that we should continue business as usual in terms of reporting facts and figures, not trying to conceal them, but to say how we were dealing with them and would be dealing with them. So, Leader, that's the first quarter figures, and I move the recommendations in the report.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Appleyard.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm maybe not quite as measured as Richard on this one. I think he obviously underplays it in some ways. I think the amount of work that's actually been done in this area has been actually phenomenal. As a council, when the pandemic hit, we could have gone maybe one of two ways. We could have accepted the promises, as well intended as they may have been, from the government in terms of covering costs and everything like this, or we could have taken a very prudent position and worked on the basis that we weren't going to get a lot of support. And I think it's a testimony not only to Richard working with obviously the finance team, but also strong leadership from the chief executive down through all the directors, that everybody has been focused on bringing an area of stability. I remember walking past an A board in Bath, and it said, I'll paraphrase it, it said, "You don't make a good sailor on calm seas." Now, obviously implying that this council needs challenge. Now, it may be that we didn't particularly want a tempest, but it certainly pushed through to the organisation a real need to think of the way we do things. And it's a testament not only to our officers, but also areas in my particular portfolio, all the commissioners in there that are looking at services and making sure that there's good value for money in there for not only the user, but obviously the council. But also there's two other areas that haven't had a mention in some ways, which has enabled us to carry on being the council we are. And that is our legal and democratic services. And I think they've done an amazing job in guiding us through the complexity of what's happened in COVID. And I know particularly our public health team have been well supported to understand what's been happening in that area, and they've guided us in the right way. So I have no doubt or hesitation in seconding this, and just really paying testament to it's a bigger piece of work than people have actually envisioned that's gone on. And it does put us in a good position. We will take the pain this year to a certain extent, but hopefully by next year, we will start to be in the position where we can start looking at reinvesting into our communities. But it's a hard situation we're in. So well done, Richard, and well done the team.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Appleyard. Do I have any other speakers on this item? Just have to check the next screen. I'm not seeing anybody who wishes to speak. In that case, Richard, you may sum up.
Thank you. Well, before moving those recommendations again, 2.1 to 2.4, what I would say is, despite things that the opposition say out on Twitter and on other places, we are looking ahead at the future financing of the council. We are looking ahead over the next couple of years, and I don't know why they keep putting out these scare stories that we're not doing things, because we certainly are. And every conversation I've had within the council tells me that everybody has an eye on the future and what happens at various points in it. So that is something that I think is worth remembering. So, Leader, I'll just now move those recommendations 2.1 to 2.4 set out in the report.
Thank you. Right, so we're now going to vote, and I will call Councillor Appleyard.
Yeah, delighted to support it.
Councillor Ball.
Yes, delighted to support it.
Councillor Butters.
For.
Councillor Crossley.
For.
Councillor Guy.
For.
Councillor Romero. For. Councillor Samuel.
For.
Councillor Wood.
For.
Councillor Warren.
For.
And Councillor Wright.
For.
Thank you. I make that another unanimous vote.
That is correct, Madam Chairman. Unanimous 4.
Thank you. Well, that concludes the business of this meeting. I would like to say thank you, first of all, to all the officers that have worked behind the scenes and also that have been involved in running this meeting. I would also like to thank everybody that has watched the meeting on YouTube, and also to everybody that has participated in the meeting. So the next meeting is on the 3rd of September. And with that, I think I would like to close this meeting. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.